Welcome to I Drink, Therefore I Am, a think tank media podcast hosted by international spirits educator and whiskey ambassador Martin C. Duffy. Each episode, Marty sits down with distillers, brand builders, and industry insiders to talk about the craft, the culture, and the business behind the spirits world. Pour yourself something appropriate, and let's get into it.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is I Drink, Therefore I Am. I'm your host, Martin Duffy, with Glencairn Crystal. That's why I'm known as the Crystal King of Chicago, in case you were wondering, even if you weren't. So today's guest is Mr. Erik Owens, who is the president, probably CEO, probably emperor of the American Distilling Institute.
I'll take it all. Yeah.
Which has been around for how long, Erik? It's
23, 24 years. Almost. I was thinking about this today. I should just say 25. Nobody's really going to fact check me on that, but it's almost 25 years.
You could always say it was underground for a number of years. There's no real documentation on it.
Well, there's a few. When I first started working for ADI in 2016, that number was disputed quite a few times, and I had to go and look at the documents and be like, "Oh yeah, there's actually an official document on this from the state of California." So it looks like 2004 is around the time.
Well, let's talk about that, because you were not in on the ground floor of the organization. Your father was. And so this is a legacy kind of dealio for you. First off, let's talk. What were we going to say?
I don't know how far you want me to go back. I mean, you asked a question, so I was ready to answer.
Wow. He loaded his answer gun before he even said fire or ready.
I know. Yeah.
Well, actually, how about this? Why don't we talk a little bit about why your father started this? I mean, was your father in the drink industry prior to starting this, or was he just a fan?
Yeah, my dad is a tough act to follow. He's been revolutionary in 3 different industries and 3 different careers. So he's actually a world famous photographer. If you go to billowens.com, you can see pictures he did in the 1970s of people's living rooms and sitting in hot tubs and Christmas parties. And
wait, now were they aware that he was taking these pose?
I believe so. Yes.
He wasn't doing it through their windows or anything, was he?
And he was his sort of revolution on photography was he actually put little quotes underneath, and he says, with my dad, never let the truth get in the way of a good story. So I don't know how true it is, but it's like there's a picture of a kid in a tree with a rake knocking the leaves out in the fall, and dad's raking them up underneath. And the caption is, "My dad makes me knock the leaves out of the tree. I think he's crazy." Right? And so it sort of infuses humor into the pictures and it brings a new life to it, right? So he did the photography, and that career, didn't pay the bills or whatever. I don't know. I wasn't around. I was so young at that time. And so in 1983, he founded Buffalo Bill's Brewery. So Ken Grossman had just started Sierra Nevada. Fritz Maytag was over there at Anchor Brewing. And then my dad was one of the in expectation of the laws getting changed for brewing, where you could actually brew. This was after Prohibition. You couldn't brew on premises and serve it on premises. So he started Buffalo Bill's in Hayward, California in 1983 with a tank. And there at the bar, you pull the thing and it flows the beer directly to the bar. So he was one of the pioneers of the brewing industry, craft brewing industry. And so he founded a couple of magazines and a couple more breweries, and sort of had sold all of that stuff off and was sitting at home around 2000 and somehow got the idea that craft distilling would do what craft brewing did, which was this monumental explosion. There was at the peak a few years ago, I think there was 15,000 craft breweries in the United States. And so 25 years ago, he's sitting in Hayward, California, and gets in his car or somehow finds, I don't know how 25 years ago you would find the craft distilleries of America. There was around 25 of them. But yeah, so he got in his car, he drove across country, he went and visited each one of, I don't know if each, but visited those early pioneers of the craft distilling industry. There's probably 25 craft distillers and probably 25 like multinational distilleries at that time. So not a lot. And so 2003, 2004, I forget which one, but we started the ADI Craft Spirits Conference and Vendor Expo. So not Hangar One, that's the one next door at St. George. He had the very first meeting. About 60 people showed up. I don't know why you weren't there, Marty.
I was working for the big guys. I was
There
working
you
with
go.
Diageo during that time. Yeah,
You weren't running the Crystal Empire yet,
no.
but that's 2004, the first meeting, and it just sort of grew. It kept doubling and doubling until about 2010. Around 2010, it just like exponentially exploded to, by the time we're in like 2020, so 15 years later, there's around 2,500 craft distilleries.
Yeah.
So it grew 1,000% in about 10 years, which is just absolutely bonkers. And yeah, so we've sort of hit that plateau, and sort of been zigzagging along at that amount for about the last 5 years.
So, but you weren't involved at that point in the beginning. You were off doing tech stuff. That was your forte, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I live in the San Francisco Bay Area. It's a very expensive place to live, and biotech and pharma was the career that I was in. And, my brother was involved in the very early days. And, my dad's a serial entrepreneur, but he's not necessarily a manager. I don't think he could work as a manager in corporate America. And so my brother was there for the early conferences, and talking to him at some point in time, he's like, I'm never going to work for dad or do this. I'm not going anymore. I'm not going to be involved. He'll say one thing and do another thing. And, like it's his business. It's what he wants to do and how he wants to run it. Right. So I was a little weary of that in the beginning, but then, by the round like 2010, I forget the first conference I went to, around 2010 or 2011. I went to Denver or Seattle, and you walk in and you see the expo floor, and the ADI had like grown, right? There was probably like 60 different vendors on the floor at that time. I was like, whoa. And there's just all of these people, all this energy and all this excitement and all these new ideas coming into whiskey and making whiskey and brandies. And yeah, it was really exciting. So I started going to the conference every year. And then around 2016, the whole thing had grown up to the point where he was like, hey, why don't you come over here and work for ADI? And I'm getting older and I want to pass on the business. So
Wow.
that's
Well,
what happened.
and but so when you got in, so you had been attending, you had been going to some of them before you
Yeah,
had,
for a couple of years, yeah, before moving over, yes.
but that had
Several
still
years.
had to be kind of daunting because you go into the industry, or now you're running an organization that deals with a lot of folks, a lot of distillers. A lot of them had already had uh a number of years of experience. So, you might have felt, like, hey, who's this green kid? Huh? Coming around running this organization. Did you feel intimidated at all?
Maybe a little naive or overly confident mixed together. Just that, like, yeah, I can do it. It's just a job, or it's, you know, it's not rocket. I'm not designing rockets, right? It's
Well,
not
no.
like physics or organic chemistry or like things that are like really hard and really tough, right? But working in biotech and pharma, I guess my sort of in was I was my dad worked in the brewing industry. I've been home brewing forever. Home brewing's, when you grow up as a brewer, you turn into a distiller. So it's understanding the processes, and I understood all of that stuff, right?
Okay.
I actually worked in biotech and pharma, and so I've run vacuum distillations before. I've run the vacuum distillers that the
Oh,
same one the distillers use, right? So like manufacturing was my background. I understood it very well. It's the same manufacturing, but it's just a different industry. So I felt like I knew that, but of course, the sort of the regulations in industry sort of really define everything. Biotech is like so regulated because you inject things into your body, but in so you don't want to kill people, right? So the spirits industry, the regulations are really the three-tier systems, sending things to distributors, to retailers, which has proved to be sort of the biggest, like one of the biggest hurdles and one of the biggest, yeah, it's the biggest gatekeeping or hurdles or limiters on business or businesses that we deal with daily, right?
so now, did you feel like, well, no, we actually, first off, let's go back to what you feel ADI offers. What is it? What is it that so I go, is it just the conference, or do you have more than just the conference, throughout the year? Because conference is what, usually a 2.5 day type event. What does I want to get involved in ADI? I'm a fresh kid, green right off the streets, and I want to start distilling or something, or get involved in the industry. ADI, what does it have to offer?
Yeah, first and foremost, it is the conference, right? That's our annual event. It's been the oldest and largest annual gathering of distillers. I think it's bigger than probably any other country in the world, right? It's 2 days. We have an expo floor, 60,000 square feet, 200 vendors. We have educational classes running, three or four of them every hour. We have spirits summits, like deep dive. This year we'll have a rum summit, we'll have a gin summit, which are like half day sessions, just completely with spirits industry professionals, just completely about those. But yeah, we also have we have memberships as well. We have magazine, we have our e-news. There's a lot of different levels. We have the ADI forums. So again, the forums have existed for 20 something years. There's probably 5 people on there chatting about distilling right now. And so you can get any and all questions answered, or ask the community about, stuck fermentations or business practices or all of the things in between. We have an annual magazine we do called Distiller Magazine. So we give that out to members. We have a spirits competition. This revolution or the change that we made to the spirits industry for as far as competitions was that there was a lot of people that are just entering the industry and they didn't have a lot of knowledge. So we decided to give written feedback on every single entry into the spirits competition. So even as of today, there's 3 judges or 4 judges on a panel. Each one has a computer in front of them and they give notes on the spirits that they tasted, right? Whether it's good or bad, or there's always trying to be constructive and productive and give people written feedback on that. We do sort of outside of the conference, we have offered classes in the past, but really the main one we do now is blending and maturation with Nancy Fraley. It's a 3-day class. We've done it in Texas for the last 6 or 7 years. And that's Nancy Fraley is an independent blender. And, I asked her a couple days ago, like, how many awards have you won? She's like, I lost count. I don't even know anymore. But she's blended for Joseph Magnus, Wyoming Whiskey, Still Austin, Frey Ranch, Broad Branch, just like absolutely amazing spirits. And so then we do offer memberships. Oh, and then we also have a video library of every breakout session that has been at the conference since 2017. So that's been all recorded, and we have a video library there. We have a YouTube channel, and so that's pretty good summation of.
Whoa. Now, all right. So you've been the conference every year changes cities, changes markets.
Yep.
This year it's going to be in Miami this August, which I am looking forward to because I do like a little time in Miami. I like going to Little Havana. They love me there. Yeah,
I've heard that's the spot to check.
It really is. It's
Yeah.
great. It's so cool. It's great, especially obviously it sounds like there's going to be a little bit of a rum focus this year at the conference.
Yep.
And Florida, lots of rum being produced there. Plus you're right there off the Caribbean. Lots of rum in Little Havana. Gotta tell you right now. Delicious too. But now when you go to these different markets, what is your criteria? Because sometimes you guys have gone to the same markets a couple times over the last couple decades. But I mean, do you focus in on, hey, this is kind of a burgeoning little area for craft distillers. These guys, there weren't a lot of distilleries there a couple of years ago, but now they're a little burgeoning. Is that the thing, or is it more accessibility, cheap hotels?
I really like keeping the prices down on hotels and international airports as the main criteria. We do have people flying in from other countries, and so going to sort of the smaller second tier can be problematic with that. The early days of ADI was Alameda, essentially Louisville, Alameda, Louisville, Alameda, and sort of back and forth. And that's where there were distilleries around, craft distillers around that we could go and tour and do classes at. And, we really, for the early days of ADI, it was like Seattle, Portland, Denver as well. And that's because those states had a craft brewing presence and a craft distilling presence and craft distilling industry there. For our 20th anniversary, I sort of broke with that tradition of there has to be a large amount of craft distillers at the city to go to Las Vegas, just because it's, Las Vegas is the city of, city of conventions. So that was a fantastic show for us, one of our best attended. And so we pretty much stick to that. We want to be in cities which have large amounts of craft distillers in them, so as well as around them. But so we will be. So then Miami Beach is maybe a little bit of a break from that. There's not necessarily a lot of craft distillers around Miami and Miami Beach itself, but there's a few around there. But also too is I sort of pushed on. We could throw. I know our friend Fed has been going there for a while as part of the Miami Rum Congress, so that sort of put it on my map there. And then I visited and said, "Yeah, this seems like a really great place to have a show."
Well, and that's the other thing too. I mean, I think a lot of folks go to the conference if that city, like Vegas. Like I said, there aren't a lot of distilleries around Vegas, but there are a number of distilleries in the states surrounding Nevada. And then it's a fun town to go to for a conference.
Absolutely.
But also too, so now even though you're called the American Distilling Institute, and people think, oh, American, you mean US. Not necessarily. I mean, so you guys do reach out to distilleries around the world. And I would think that, again, the Caribbean, South America, you get a lot of distilleries coming up, I would think. Yeah, no?
Yeah, really, I don't want to call it the split, or there is a separation in the industry between multinational corporations such as Diageo and then sort of the everyone else, right? And so our goal is to bring everybody together to share information and to really grow the industry. Those are places like Diageo aren't necessarily as forthcoming with information and business practices and all this proprietary.
Really?
They've spent years doing all those things, but yeah, really, it's we are here to bring everyone together to talk about the industry, to celebrate everybody who's there. When I first started working in ADI, it's like, oh, there's a gin distillery in Lima, Peru. You're like, oh, okay. Like they show up at the conference, or there's a bunch of people down in Australia and New Zealand who are at the show, and you're like, wow, you flew all the way around the world to come to this show. We've also, Canada, our great neighbor to the north, probably has around 300 craft distillers up there as well, right? And so really it has been the gathering spot of the craft distiller, of the everyone else, and like I said, that is the lion's share of the industry. Historically it's been, the Diageos or it's the Brown Formans, but like their information and their training and their employees have always been within their sort of ecosystem. It's changing now with the Beam Institute, and there's sort of more access to that information, but really that, we're there to share information, education, there's no secrets in this industry, like sharing how things are done. Or, we just did a webinar we talked about rum in Miami. I've really been personally loving rum and learning about it and all these weird banana funky flavors and how do you get that. And so we just did a webinar on the Cousins process and making cane acids. And then I'm like, wow, why aren't there more people doing this in whiskey, right? Like it's really, as I mean, the spirits and I think about like beer and wine, or like there's the amount of flavor. Let's say there's a line from 0 to 1, like there's just infinite amounts of flavor in the world. Beer and wine have really sort of narrow categories in there, I believe, but spirits is just, I've tasted so many. There's People get so locked into, hey, there's this bourbon or this collectible bourbon. It's like, I've not that I'm saying I enjoyed it or I would buy it again, but like I had a mushroom gin, which was like just tasted like you like dug the forest or smelled like the forest floor, right? And it's just it's these weird experiences, and it sort of like hits the emotions and unlocks memories in your mind. It's just the spirits industry is so amazing. It's so fantastic. And the people that are in here as well, or, you know them, you're friends with many, many of them. It's people that have invested millions of their own dollars essentially into little manufacturing businesses for what? Something that you drink, it crosses your palate, and then it's gone. It's pieces of art that should be in a museum, but it's so impermanent and ephemeral. Or is that the right word? It's just these like temporary experiences that people are dedicating their lives, and they're like, I want to share this. I want to share this thing with the world. And it's amazing.
Well, one of the craziest visits I ever had, well, I shouldn't call it crazy. One of the most memorable was with Stephen McCarthy at Clear Creek back when he was still with us, and he was producing. I believe he was like one of that first wave, him and Fritz
Yes.
Maytag and such. And I remember him walking me through all his spirits, and all his spirits were inspired by something he tasted somewhere in the world in his travels.
Yeah.
So his one of my favorite whiskeys out there is McCarthy's. It's a peated single malt, which was based on Lagavulin, a brand I used to work for. I used to represent, and he just discovered it on one of his trips to Scotland. He loved it, and this was back in the '90s when most people had, most say Americans had no idea what the hell a peated single malt Scotch or whiskey tasted like, and it was very different, to especially the American palate. That they, he saw it, he brought it home, loved it. He traveled through Eastern Europe. He had all these palancas. He loved them. Started making his own eau de vives when he got back out of different, not only different fruit, but Douglas fir. That's another one of my favorites of his, was his eau de vive of Douglas fir. That's the kind of stuff that you do. You just get, you go, this is crazy. You guys do crazy stuff, and it's fun. And I hope you're able to make a living doing it. Because I mean, some of it is so personal that you hope, okay,
It is that balance of art and business too, right? There is, you can get a little too far off on the art side, and maybe I do notice that a bit with the distillers, is they're sort of stuck on what they like or what they want. And,
right.
There is the business aspect, which is, the majority of bottles sold are at the liquor store, and it's the bottom shelf on the liquor store too, right? So how do you capture both of those? But yeah.
Right. I mean, not only do they have to sell the idea of whatever they're making to customers, first they have to get it into a distributorship. If they're making something crazy, it's like an artist who just loves doing portraits of toenail fungus. They go, I think this is fascinating. And go, okay, hope there's a market out there for toenail fungus portraits. Well, I do some in color and some are chalk. Okay, all right. I got to leave. A little bit of history that I'm not sure everyone knows. I think most people in the industry know that ACSA, the American Craft Spirits Association, broke off from ADI, and that was the way it was always presented to me, is that they were like some of the first and some of the second wave, more established distillers. They broke off. Some of their reasons were out there, but I wasn't sure if that was really the reasons. And they got more into the lobbying side of stuff, where you guys were still thought of as, hey, if I want to get into the industry, this is the place where I go to do R&D. Now, do you still see ADI as that way?
Yes, the industry has changed so vastly in the last 25 years. Yes, there's so many ways I could answer this, but I mean, even today, there's just been an explosion of brands, right? And back in the day, the person starting distilleries was like a white male with access to $3 to $5 million capital, had an engineering degree, and is somebody who's like, yeah, I can buy a still and a boiler and put them together and start running them and it's this huge capital investment, right? There's a local brewery to me called Altamont in Livermore, California, California IPAs. I was talking to the owner 10 years ago or whatever it was, and he's like, oh yeah, I started this with $100,000. $100,000 will barely even get you a still.
Yeah.
right? Like you have, and to start a distillery, you have to start a brewery and then attach a still to it and then put it in a barrel for 2 years, right? Like there's so much more time and energy and capital investment in it. And we have been seeing the rise of the brands where it is people who are just having ideas for whiskeys or instead of making that $1 million investment into a physical location, they go to somebody who's already done that. Or there's this sort of level of contract producer now that is all they do, right? Like they don't even really have their own brand that they're running under that out of. It's just all about doing brands for other people. So we hope to, if anybody has an idea for starting a brewery or wants to get into the industry, wants to start a brand, we are the place for that, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, to go back to I don't know how much you wanted me to answer this question, was the ACSA. Yeah, we were founded in 2003 by Bill Owens, my dad, and we are a private for-profit company, right? And at that time, the sort of between 2004 and 2010, 2011, the industry went from 25 to 50. It was probably around 200 craft distillers. And those distillers said, hey, we see Discus, the Distilled Spirits Council, they are there for lobbying in Washington, D.C. to get laws changed. The idea for the federal excise tax reduction, which is now a deep dive. I don't know how many people actually care about FET or what it means, but it's basically the federal government puts tax on spirits, right? And then it uses that for budgeting. And so the idea of getting that FET reduced for craft distillers came out of ADI, in 2008, 2009. I wasn't there. I wasn't documenting it. I don't know exactly. But ultimately, ACSA said, hey, we also want to create our own group, which is specifically for, like, that is the main flag the main thing we're going to try to get done. And so between us, ACSA, and Discus, I mean, I think it was, back to the first thing talking about the industry is sort of the big and the small, like federal excise tax reduction happened when they were able to, this is my understanding, I wasn't there, was to when they changed it and said, it's not only for distilleries making less than 100,000 proof gallons for the craft distillers. It's just for the first 100,000 gallons produced. So your big companies also got their taxes reduced, not completely for everything they made, but for that first 100,000, or I think there's something first 100,000 and then second 100,000 is reduced. But yeah, it was really getting all the distillers in the industry on the same page is what finally got that over the finish line at the federal level.
Well, then I was curious as far as ADI and organizations like Discus. Do you reach out to Discus now? And also, the Beam Institute has developed quite a nice reputation just within the last few years. Have you thought, instead of any kind of competition with these, that you work with them and try to create a nice little network where one hand washes the other, and you can actually support one another in some way or the other?
Yeah, the very first conference that I attended as an employee, we had the head of Discus speak at our keynote address. I'm trying to remember his name, Chris. And so yeah, Discus, Discus has done, in our 25 years of existence, has done so incredibly much to get laws changed for the benefit of craft distillers. They're not 100%. They're not just there to support craft distillers. They're, their
Right,
board
they're all
and
this.
their budget is from multinational corporations, and their directive is to get them the most benefit they can. But they've understood that, benefiting all, what do they say? The water raises all ships, right?
Right.
And so, yeah, they've done so much for working to get, direct to consumer shipping is still a nightmare. I went to Reno recently. There's a distillery there. Like, I'm 5 hours away. If I want another bottle, it's impossible to get. Like, they can't just ship it to me. They're in the next state over. It's illegal for me as a consumer to buy a bottle from them. And it's gotten a lot better. There's a lot more states these days, but there's really only maybe a dozen states that can ship at all, even within the state. And then, getting shipped from state to state is it's a nightmare. And so Discus has done a bunch to get that moving forward. They've done a lot of things to help Sunday sales, which I'm a Californian. It seems ridiculous that you can't buy spirits on Sunday. Or, even now there's a bunch
You
of
gotta
states.
go to church, Eric. They don't want you going to church all kind of boozed up. What's the matter with you?
And there's being able to sell at like a farmer's market, or
Yeah.
another one is self-distribution. If every distillery in America had the ability to directly ship to a consumer anywhere in the continental US and had the ability to self-distribute, I think we could see 5,000 distillers easily.
Yeah.
It's those two. There's only one. Actually, I don't know if there's any one. See, but it's so weird because it's like maybe a state has the rights, but the next state over doesn't have the rights. And so then you can't ship it into the next state over and you can't reciprocally do it. But yeah. So it doesn't really exist in the United States, right? And those are limiting factors on your business plan that limits the growth of the distilleries and limits the industry unto itself.
I'm a big advocate of self-distribution. However, I do see when you're shipping, the risk of underage people buying and people do this all the time. There has to be some kind of, but I don't know. Every time there's some kind of
I don't think there's a lot
safeguard.
of 16-year-olds buying $150 bottles of whiskey online, but
Yeah, I don't think
I could be
you
wrong. I think they've done studies about this, and it's super
I don't think you hang
minor.
out in the neighborhoods that I hang out in. Believe me,
That's true. The mean streets of Chicago.
the mean streets, buddy. Boom.
Yeah. All those 16-year-olds are ordering Malort online, I'm sure.
Well, actually, that might be. I could see it. But no, I think, actually, what I thought was really cool was, I think I mentioned this to you. When you go to events, and I know Kentucky has this. If you go down to Kentucky, you go to the Kentucky Bourbon Festival, which is a huge, great event. If you love your bourbon and you want bourbon, there's loads of bourbon there. 3 days of it, in fact. Also, the Owensboro barbecue and barrel event. You could sell your product right then and there, which was great. I thought it was fantastic. It really helped out these small little guys, especially the barbecue and barrel, where the event was kind of locally sponsored by the town. They didn't charge for the booths. So these guys could come in. All they had to worry about was maybe find a hotel for the night. But then they could sell their wares and really promote it and talk. And it was always, I love those events too, because it's always the distillers are at these events. The people you really want to meet, couldn't hear their
not
story.
just the brand ambassador or some
Yeah,
20-year-old. They have to stand there at the booth and pour spirits.
And God bless them. But
Excuse me,
the
21-year-old.
the girls in the cocktail dresses, which
Yeah.
never looks good at the Kentucky Bourbon Festival because it's outdoors and they kind of look a little out of place. But yeah, you really want to find out. You want to hear their story. You want to find out why. You're tasting. You go, "What's that mash bill? Why that particular mash bill?" "Well, I thought this and I thought that." "Oh, cool. I love you." Want again? You go back to their little personal journey, their little story, why they do it. It's kind of fun when you taste a spirit that doesn't taste very good, and you find out why, from their personal journey. It's great when it tastes really, really good, but it's also interesting when you find out, oh, okay, I don't think you did the right research on that right there.
I've drank a lot of bad bourbon, Marty.
A lot of bad spirit. I mean, you know what? I'll say this, Eric. Over the last 15 years, I'd say, um, it's amazing how much, especially whiskeys, where you go and you taste a brand. It could be a very well marketed craft brand. The tasting, you go, "Hey, that kind of tastes like you didn't empty the barrel of any sawdust there because it tastes a little sawdusty." And then,
Coniferaldehyde.
and that,
Smells like a desk and tastes like cardboard. Yep.
yeah. But then later on, a couple years down the road, they tweak it. They get enough feedback that all of a sudden, I think Colin Keegan, formerly of Santa Fe Spirits, he admitted as much that originally, he didn't have it quite down, but he listened to feedback, and then his whiskey became one of my favorites. Another delicious little smoky mesquite, mesquited whiskey.
Yeah, when I first started working at ADI in 2016, I went to the spirits competition. It's just sort of crazy to stand there in a room with 1,000 spirits, and there's 350, 400 whiskeys there, or whatever it is. And it used to be, yeah, sort of the beginning of it was all bourbon, 0 to 2 years old, right? And so there's that, and there was a bunch of like moonshine, and definitely like as time has gone on, those unaged bourbons have shrank to almost nothing. And yeah, it's really common now to see your bottled and bond 4 years. Everybody's doing straights, bottled and bond 4 years. And to see these 10-year releases now coming from distillers is it's absolutely incredible. But yeah, I agree with you completely. The level of the industry it's equal to, it's world class, right? The distilleries in America are making as good of spirits as anywhere else in the world, if
Yeah.
not better.
It's interesting too. Just we talked before about distilleries abroad, just to find out where, and we were both at Bar Convent Brooklyn, and there was a number of brands there. You go, "Oh my God, I didn't even know you could make whiskey in that country." Oh, that's interesting. And then you taste it, you go, "Wow, that's actually really good."
Yeah.
Quite nice. And
Lebanon, there was
yeah, yeah,
that distillery in Lebanon was making amazing whiskeys. Yeah.
yeah. Um,
Raichi? Yeah.
yeah, that's about right. And you're just kind of blown away. And I think that's again going back to the whole um, uh, tasting these spirits, getting the flavors that a lot of them are using, because they're also using different styles of wood. I was in Hungary a number of years ago, going back again this fall, and the cooperages out there use that Tokai forest wood.
Yep.
I would love to see more whiskey being made in those. People out there, you want to try something different, just go explore it. Tokai forest wood out of Hungary, really fascinating, really great stuff.
I don't know if you saw, there was an announcement from the Whiskey House, and they were in China. And I saw there's a new brand called Sheng, and they're doing not Muay Thai, Baijiu aged in used American oak, right? So trying to sort of drift that flavor profile of Baijiu to the American palate. It makes sense, right?
Yeah,
So
right.
yeah, it's again sort of a spirit done crazy, weird flavor, especially like you hesitate to call it weird. I hesitate to call it weird, but it's just sort of unusual for us
Yeah,
Americans, the
different,
Baijiu, different flavor profiles.
alien, alien almost. The You know, that's the other thing too about the craft spirit world is that when I used to work for Diageo, I represented bourbon with Bullet Bourbon, and then obviously lots of Scotch. Then later, Bushmills Irish whiskey and Crown Royal Canadian whiskey. Uh, so I dealt with all these different distillers and distilleries in different countries, and it was interesting how little they knew about each other. They knew the basics. You know, the guys in Scotland go, "Oh yeah, the bourbon guys, they use corn, don't they? That's that stuff on a cob." And they, but you know, a lot of the specifics about the production, they really didn't know. Guys in Kentucky could only tell you so much about what was going on in Scotland. I found that weird because I thought if I was a distiller and I'm just, no matter what I'm distilling, I want to go see what the other guys are doing elsewhere, because who knows, I could adopt it in some way, shape, or form and make my product different. But I was always fascinated by how and I shouldn't say they weren't curious, maybe they were, but they never made it known to me that they were very curious, that they were kind of happy with the tradition that they had. That's it.
Well, I think it's back to like the art and the business, right? They're definitely in that business side. Their business, their business is moving millions of cases, right? Their business is controlled by accountants. Their business isn't there to do R&D and bring new products to market. Or they're not necessarily very good at that, right? I think that's where the craft distillers sort of fit in. They've been able to really, the before the craft industry, there wasn't like the barrel finishes going on. I mean, barrel finishes are everywhere now, and every
Yeah.
brand is doing those sorts of things, right? Which has, I think, raised the level of all spirits.
Yeah. Well, not only barrel finishes, but the types of wood. Obviously, a little limited because you still have to worry about, it being the right type of oak for a good seal. But then again, I don't know. They've
With
probably
the rapid
perfected a lot of
maturation
that.
stuff that's been going on too is people throw them in a reactor, they heat it up and cool it down and pump it
Yeah.
through, and so you're able to infuse those different woods into spirits as well. So yeah, you don't even have the restriction of a barrel. Or I've seen other Titan barrels, or it's like a stainless steel barrel where they actually shove staves inside of it, and so
Yeah.
you can actually flavor those things.
Well, who was that? There was that one spirit. I don't know if I really bought into this one. It was they had the spirit in the bottle, and then they just put the little wood spiral. So they're aging it in the
Oak
bottle.
and something. Yeah, there's
Yeah,
been more than one of those, and there probably will be. Instead of mezcal and a worm, it's a little oak spiral in there too. But
you were
yeah,
you were supposed to eat the wooden spiral once the bottle was empty. Just got
there's
on it.
yeah. I mean, you and I both know how barrels work, and barrels you have to have the wood on the outside. It has to breathe. It's got to be in the right conditions in order for
Well,
the flavors to get extracted and the whiskey
yeah,
to turn
and
out
time.
exceptional. Just
That,
taking wood and throwing wood chips in there is not
yeah,
a not an ideal flavor that I think that either you or I enjoy.
I think it's with certain particular whiskeys. There are different categories of whiskey, but I think with all whiskey, the one little element I always used to say, you had certain ingredients. Yeah, you had barley or grain, right? You had grain, you had water, but you had wood, but you had time. Time was very important. It's what
It
differentiated
heals all
whiskey.
wounds, Marty.
It does. It does, except for a couple of girlfriends I've had that I'm still hurting after all these years. Little Eric, is there anything else you want to add about the big upcoming event? Is there still room? Can people go?
Yeah,
Can they attend?
absolutely.
Who can attend?
Please, anyone anyone can attend. Period. Spirits industry professionals. If you're just enthusiastic about spirits and want to taste some, we'll have a tasting for the Florida Craft Distillers Guild there.
Ooh, is there going to be a kickoff party?
Yeah, of course. We have that every year. We invite the state guild to pour there. So we'll have that the night before. We have the rum summit there. We have a gin summit. We have a cocktail competition. This is the second year we've had that. So at the end of the second day down on the expo floor, we have 5 different cocktails. You can put your vote in for the single serve invitational. There's a closing party. I can't even remember it now, but yeah, in Miami, I've really been into tiki. In Fort Lauderdale, there's the Mai Kai. It's like this 4-acre tiki restaurant 20 miles north of Miami Beach. I hope to get up there. There's Koana Room, which is doing rums that are, the owner personally puts rum into barrels and sinks them down to the bottom of the ocean for a month and then brings them up and then makes cocktails out of those for you. There's just so many amazing things going on around the show. Distilling.com is where you can go for the information on that.
Sweet. I want tiki. If you guys could have a tiki bar there, that'd be excellent.
Marty's Tiki Bar.
Well, I
get out that Glencairn checkbook. We'll get you whatever tiki bar you want.
The Crystal Hammer is not what it used to be. I'm slowing down. I throwing the kid around too much in each one of these towns, and the Scots are looking at me funny, like, what are you paying for all this stuff for? Stop it! They throw dimes around like they're manhole covers, those guys. All right, well, thanks, little Eric. Thanks for your time. Not so little. He's actually a grown man, just so no one has the wrong idea. Thanks for being on, and I look forward to seeing you down in Miami in August.
Woo! Thanks for spending time with us on I Drink, Therefore I Am. You can watch every episode of the podcast inside Hospitality Nexus, a global human-first platform bringing the hospitality ecosystem together in one place. Inside the Nexus, it's a career fair that never closes, connecting industry leaders, educators, students, employers, and partners through real presence. Create your free account and explore the community at www.hospitalitynexus.org. And until next time, sip thoughtfully, drink responsibly, Sláinte.